The strange discovery. Dr. Ethan Carter was used to long nights at the lab. As one of the top scientists in quantum energy research, he often lost track of time while chasing breakthroughs. That evening was no different. The clock had already struck midnight by the time he parked his car in the driveway of his quiet suburban home. He yawned, rubbing his tired eyes as he stepped out into the chilly night air. The house was dark, except for a faint glow coming from an upstairs window. His bedroom. Ethan frowned. Alina, his maid, usually left by 8 p.m. after finishing her work. Why was she still there? And why was the bedroom light on? He felt a flicker of unease. He unlocked the front door and stepped inside, the usual comforting silence of his home replaced by an odd tension. The air felt heavy, almost electric. Ethan called out, "Alina, are you still here?" No answer. His heartbeat quickened as he climbed the stairs, each creak of the steps echoing louder in the stillness. He reached the bedroom door and pushed it open cautiously. What he saw stopped him in his tracks. Alina was sitting on his bed, but she wasn't folding clothes or cleaning like she usually did. She was holding a strange, glowing device in her hands. It was about the size of a tablet, but had no visible buttons or screen. Instead, it pulsated with a soft blue light, casting eerie shadows on the walls. Ethan blinked, trying to make sense of the scene. "Alina, what are you doing here? And what is that?" She looked up at him, her calm demeanor unnerving. "Dr. Carter," she said in a steady voice, "you need to listen to me. There's no time to waste." Ethan crossed his arms, his scientist's curiosity battling with his growing suspicion. "Explain." Now. Alina stood, holding the device carefully. "This is not from Earth," she said. Her words hung in the air like a thunderclap. Ethan laughed nervously, but the way she looked at him silenced him. Her gaze was steady, serious. "I know this sounds impossible, but it's the truth." Ethan shook his head, stepping further into the room. "Are you feeling okay? That's just some tech toy, right? I don't have time for jokes, Alina." "I'm not joking," she said firmly. "You've been working on something revolutionary in your lab, something that could change the world. But it's also drawn attention from others." "Others? What others?" Ethan demanded, his voice rising. His mind raced through possibilities. Was she talking about spies? Rival scientists? He wasn't prepared for her next words. "Not humans," Alina replied, lowering her voice. "They'd been watching you for weeks. Your breakthrough in quantum energy has sent ripples far beyond what you can imagine. If we don't act now, they'll come for you." Ethan stared at her, trying to decide whether she was crazy or if he was dreaming. "What are you talking about? And what do you mean by we?" She sighed, as though preparing to drop another bombshell. "I'm not just your maid, Ethan. My real name is Alina Vashtar, and I'm not from this planet." For a moment, the room was completely silent. Then Ethan laughed, a short, disbelieving sound. "All right, this is ridiculous. Are you telling me you're an alien? Seriously?" Alina's expression didn't waver. "Yes. My mission was to observe your work and ensure it didn't fall into the wrong hands. But now things have escalated. The rogue faction I've been tracking has found you. If they get their hands on your research, they'll use it to create weapons powerful enough to destroy entire civilizations." Ethan pinched the bridge of his nose, his mind spinning. This is insane. You're just a maid. You clean my house, cook my meals. How, why, would you do that if you're some advanced alien? "To stay close to you without raising suspicion," she replied. "It was the safest way to protect you. But now, they'd found us. We need to leave immediately." Ethan's skepticism was fading, replaced by a deep sense of unease. The device in her hands didn't look like anything he'd seen before, and her knowledge of his secret quantum energy project, something even his closest colleagues didn't fully know about, was too precise to ignore. "All right," he said cautiously. Let's say I believe you. Why should I trust you? How do I know you're not working with these aliens? Alina's expression softened, and for the first time, there was a hint of vulnerability in her eyes. Because I'm risking everything to save you. If they catch us, it's over. For both of us. Please, Ethan, you have to trust me. Before he could respond, a sudden vibration shook the house, followed by a faint humming sound outside. Alina's eyes widened. They're here, she whispered. Ethan's stomach dropped as she grabbed his arm and pulled him toward the window. We have to go. Now. The faint hum grew louder, turning into a deep, menacing rumble. Ethan glanced outside and saw a dark, unmarked vehicle pull into his driveway. The windows were tinted, but shadows moved inside, their purpose clear. His heart pounded as he turned back to Alina. What do we do? Her grip on the glowing device tightened. Follow me, she said, her voice calm but firm. And don't look back. The hidden identity. Ethan's pulse raced as he followed Alina down the narrow staircase, her steps silent but quick. She moved with a precision that sent a jolt of unease through him. This wasn't the careful, reserved maid he thought he knew. This was someone entirely different. They reached the basement, a space Ethan rarely used except for storage. Alina stopped near the far wall, where a shelf stacked with old books and tools stood untouched. She placed her hand on a hidden panel beside it. A soft click echoed, and the shelf slid open, revealing a metallic door with glowing symbols etched across its surface. What is this? Ethan asked, his voice a mix of confusion and awe. An emergency exit, Alina replied, not looking back. I installed it weeks ago, just in case. You installed this? He asked, incredulous. Stop asking questions and follow me, she snapped, her calm demeanor slipping for the first time. The door hissed open, revealing a dimly lit corridor lined with strange, glowing wires that pulsed faintly, like veins of light. Ethan hesitated, but the faint rumble of approaching footsteps upstairs spurred him forward. As the door slid shut behind them, sealing off the sounds of the outside world, the only noise left was the hum of the corridor and their quick breaths. They walked in silence for several minutes until the corridor opened into a circular chamber. In the center was a sleek, silver table covered with holographic blueprints and devices Ethan couldn't begin to comprehend. He stared at the alien symbols and technology, his scientist's mind overwhelmed with questions. All right, he said finally, his voice echoing in the chamber. I think I've earned some answers. Who are you really? And what the hell is going on? Alina turned to face him, her face illuminated by the glow of the blueprints. My name is Alina Vashtar, and I'm from the planet Livra. I was sent here to monitor your work because of its potential. What you've created, a sustainable quantum energy source, has never been achieved before, not even by us. Ethan blinked, struggling to process her words. Wait, you're telling the aliens you don't have quantum energy? We have it, she clarified, but not in the way you've discovered. Your invention doesn't just harness energy, it amplifies and stabilizes it. In the right hands, it could power entire civilizations. In the wrong hands. Her voice trailed off, but the meaning was clear. Ethan frowned. If it's so dangerous, why didn't you just destroy it? Why go to all this trouble to protect me? Alina's expression softened, and she stepped closer. Because humanity deserves a chance. You're capable of so much good. But there are forces out there. Forces that see your potential as a threat or an opportunity for conquest. Ethan shook his head. This is insane. I'm just a scientist. I didn't sign up to be part of some intergalactic war. You didn't, Alina said, her tone firm but not unkind. But your work has drawn attention, and now you're in the middle of it. The rogue faction tracking you doesn't care about your intentions. They only care about what they can take. Ethan paced the room, running a hand through his hair. Why me? Why now? Alina hesitated before answering. Because your breakthrough wasn't an accident. Someone, something, Helped you. Ethan froze, staring at her. What are you talking about? You've felt it, haven't you? Alina pressed. The sudden flashes of insight, the way solutions seemed to come from nowhere. That wasn't just your genius at work. You were guided. Ethan's mind reeled as memories surfaced. Nights when he'd been stuck on a problem for hours, only for the solution to appear as if whispered in his mind. He had always chalked it up to inspiration or luck. But now, guided by what? He asked, his voice barely above a whisper. By Lyvran technology, Alina admitted. We've been observing you for years, helping in small, subtle ways. We believed you could achieve what we couldn't. And you did. But we underestimated how quickly others would notice. Ethan sank into a chair, his legs suddenly weak. This is too much. My entire life. My work. It's all been manipulated. Not manipulated, Alina said gently. Inspired. Your brilliance is your own. We only gave you the tools to reach it. But now, it's up to you to decide what happens next. Ethan looked up at her, anger and fear warring in his eyes. And what happens next? Before Alina could answer, the chamber trembled and an alarm blared. A holographic map appeared on the table, showing red dots closing in on their location. They found us, Alina said, her voice steady but urgent. She grabbed a small spherical device from the table and handed it to Ethan. This will keep you alive. For now. But we need to move. Ethan stared at the device, its surface glowing faintly in his palm. What does it do? It's a personal shield, Alina said. It'll protect you from most of their weapons, but it won't last forever. We need to reach the next safe point. Ethan swallowed hard, his fear replaced by a grim determination. All right, let's go. As they prepared to leave, the alarms grew louder, and the sound of distant explosions echoed through the corridor. Ethan glanced at Alina, his mind still spinning, but his resolve strengthening. For better or worse, he was part of this now. The ambush. The underground tunnel stretched into darkness, illuminated only by the faint, pulsating glow of the personal shield in Ethan's hand. His breath was shallow, his steps hurried, as he followed Alina through the narrow passage. She moved with precision, her every action calculated. Ethan's mind raced, trying to make sense of the revelations she'd just dropped on him. Before he could ask another question, Alina stopped abruptly, holding up a hand. Quiet, she whispered, her voice sharp. Ethan froze. In the distance, the sound of footsteps echoed faintly, growing louder with each passing second. They weren't alone. Keep moving, Alina mouthed, motioning for him to follow her into a smaller side tunnel. It was barely wide enough for them to fit, but it provided just enough cover to stay hidden. The footsteps grew louder until the faint outlines of shadowy figures appeared at the far end of the main tunnel. Ethan squinted, trying to make out details, but Alina tugged him down, pressing him against the cold wall. They're scouts, she whispered. They're sweeping the tunnels for any sign of us. Ethan's pulse quickened. How did they find us so quickly? He whispered back. The signal from the prototype, Alina admitted, her voice low. It's powerful enough to leave traces. I didn't think they'd detect it this fast. Great, Ethan muttered. So we're basically running with a giant glowing target on our backs. Alina didn't answer. Instead, she reached into her coat and pulled out a small device, no larger than a coin. She pressed it against the tunnel wall, and it began to hum softly. What's that? Ethan asked. A decoy, Alina said, her eyes fixed on the device. It'll mimic the signal and lead them away from us. But we need to move. Now. The moment the device activated, the sound of the scouts' footsteps shifted. The figures turned and began moving in the opposite direction, chasing the false trail. Let's go, Alina urged, pulling Ethan by the arm. They moved quickly, the tension in the air palpable. Ethan couldn't shake the feeling that danger was still lurking just behind them. His suspicions were confirmed when they rounded a corner and came face to face with another group of scouts. There were 3 of them, their faces obscured by dark helmets. Each one carried a sleek, menacing weapon that glowed faintly, its design unlike anything Ethan had ever seen. Alina reacted instantly. She pushed Ethan back, stepping between him and the scouts. "Stay behind me," she ordered. One of the scouts raised his weapon, a faint hum indicating it was ready to fire. Before he could pull the trigger, Alina lunged forward with inhuman speed, a blade materializing in her hand from a hidden compartment on her suit. The fight was over in seconds. Alina moved like a blur, her strikes precise and devastating. Ethan watched in stunned silence as the scouts collapsed to the ground, their weapons clattering against the tunnel floor. "What the hell was that?" he asked, his voice shaking. Alina turned to him, her expression unreadable. "I told you. I'm not just a maid. Let's keep moving." They continued down the tunnel, but Ethan couldn't take his eyes off her. The ease with which she had dispatched the scouts left him both impressed and uneasy. "You've done this before," he said, more as a statement than a question. Alina didn't look at him. "Many times," she admitted. "It's part of the job." Ethan fell silent, unsure of how to respond. His world had been turned upside down in the span of a few hours, and he was starting to realize just how out of his depth he was. Finally, they reached a heavy metal door at the end of the tunnel. Alina placed her hand on a panel, and the door slid open with a hiss, revealing a small, dimly lit room filled with monitors and alien devices. "This is a safe point," Alina said, stepping inside. "They won't find us here, at least, not right away." Ethan followed her, his gaze sweeping over the strange equipment. "What now?" he asked. Alina didn't answer immediately. Instead, she activated one of the monitors, which displayed a map of the surrounding area. Red dots blinked on the screen, showing the locations of their pursuers. "We're surrounded," Alina said grimly. "They've blocked most of the exits." Ethan's stomach dropped. "So we're trapped?" "Not yet," Alina said, turning to face him. "There's one route they haven't found, but it's dangerous." Ethan raised an eyebrow. "More dangerous than being hunted by alien assassins." Alina allowed herself a faint smile. "Fair point. But this route will take us through their territory. If we're caught, there's no escape." Ethan sighed, running a hand through his hair. "So what's the plan?" Alina handed him a small device, similar to the one she had used earlier. "You're going to help me." Ethan stared at the device, its faint glow casting shadows across his face. "Help you how?" "You're a scientist," Alina said. "I need you to modify this device to amplify its signal. If we can create a big enough distraction, we might have a chance to slip past them." Ethan hesitated, then nodded. "All right. But if this doesn't work—" "It will," Alina said firmly. "It has to." As Ethan began working on the device, the faint hum of danger still lingered in the air, a reminder that their time was running out. The call to action. The room was dimly lit, the hum of alien devices filling the silence as Ethan worked on the small glowing device Alina had handed him. His hands trembled slightly, not from fear, but from the weight of the task ahead. Every movement felt like it carried the fate of the world, or perhaps even more. "Done," Ethan said finally, placing the modified device on the table. The glow had intensified, pulsating like a heartbeat. Alina leaned over, inspecting his work. "This will do," she said, her voice steady but laced with urgency. "But now we need to talk about the bigger picture." Ethan leaned back in the chair, rubbing his temples. "The bigger picture. I'm barely keeping up with what's happening right now." Alina pulled up a holographic display from one of the monitors. The image of a planet appeared, Earth. But it wasn't the Earth Ethan knew. Massive craters marred the surface, oceans boiled away, and cities were nothing more than blackened ruins. "This is what happens if we fail," Alina said, her tone grim. "The rogue faction isn't just here to steal your work. They're here to test humanity's defenses. If they succeed, Earth will be the first of many worlds to fall." Ethan stared at the image, his breath catching in his throat. You're saying they'll wipe us out? Just like that? Alina nodded. Your technology is their key to domination. With your quantum energy amplifier, they can power weapons capable of destroying entire planets or enslave civilizations by controlling their energy supplies. Right now, you're the only one who can stop them. Ethan's laugh was bitter, almost a bark. Stop them. I'm a scientist, not a soldier. You saw what happened back there. I'm barely keeping myself alive. Alina walked around the table, standing directly in front of him. Ethan, listen to me. You may not be a soldier, but you're something more important. You're the mind that created this technology. You understand it better than anyone else. If anyone can figure out how to use it to stop them, it's you. Her words struck a chord in him, but the doubt lingered. And what about you? You seem more than capable of handling them on your own. I can fight, Alina admitted. But this battle isn't just about fighting. It's about strategy, about science. It's about using their own tactics against them. That's where you come in. Ethan leaned forward, his elbows on the table. So what's the plan? How do we stop an entire faction of advanced aliens with just this? He gestured at the small device on the table. Alina tapped on the holographic display, zooming in on a massive spaceship hovering in low Earth orbit. That's their command ship. It's where they're coordinating their efforts and storing the data they've stolen so far. If we can disrupt their systems, we can force them to retreat, or at the very least, buy ourselves time to prepare Earth's defenses. Ethan frowned. You're talking about hacking an alien spaceship. Do you know how insane that sounds? Alina gave him a faint smile. Insane, yes. Impossible. No. How do we even get close enough to do that? Ethan asked. I have a contact, Alina said. An exiled strategist from my world who has been hiding here on Earth. He knows their systems better than anyone. If we can reach him, he can help us. Ethan sighed, shaking his head. This just keeps getting better. Alina stepped closer, her voice softening. I know this isn't what you signed up for, Ethan. But the truth is, none of us ever really sign up for the battles that matter. They find us. And when they do, we have a choice, to fight or to run. Right now, I need you to fight. Ethan looked at her, seeing the determination in her eyes. He thought about everything he'd been through in the past few hours. The revelations, the danger, the overwhelming sense of being thrust into something far bigger than himself. All right, he said finally, standing up. Let's do it. But if this goes sideways, I'm blaming you. Alina smiled, a rare glimmer of hope breaking through her otherwise serious demeanor. Fair enough. Let's move. As they gathered their supplies and prepared to leave, the red dots on the holographic map began to cluster closer together. The road faction was closing in again. We don't have much time, Alina said, grabbing the modified device. The contact's location is about 20 miles from here, but the area is crawling with scouts. We'll have to move fast and stay off their radar. Ethan tightened his grip on the small shield generator Alina had given him earlier. Lead the way, he said, trying to sound braver than he felt. As they stepped out into the dark tunnels once more, Ethan couldn't help but wonder, was this really the beginning of humanity's fight for survival, or was it just the end of the world disguised as a chance to fight back? Only time, and his actions, would tell. The unexpected ally. The safe house was quiet, save for the faint hum of the alien tech scattered around the room. Alina tapped furiously on a holographic console, her fingers moving faster than Ethan could follow. The map displayed on the screen showed dozens of red dots, the enemy, circling their position like vultures. We need help, Alina said, breaking the silence. Even with the modifications to the device, it won't be enough to stop them. Ethan leaned against the wall, still catching his breath from their escape. And where exactly do you plan to find help? Everyone who knows anything about this is either chasing us or dead. Alina turned to him, her expression sharp. Not everyone. She tapped a series of commands on the console, and a face appeared on the holographic display. It wasn't human. The features were sharp, almost bird-like, with silver eyes that seemed to pierce through the screen. "Who's that?" Ethan asked, his curiosity mingling with unease. "This is Kryn," Alina said, "an exiled strategist from my world. He worked for the rogue faction before he defected. If anyone can help us navigate their systems and survive this, it's him." Ethan crossed his arms. "And why exactly is he going to help us? Doesn't sound like the type to stick his neck out for others." Alina hesitated, her jaw tightening. "He has his reasons. He's been hiding on Earth for years, trying to atone for what he's done. But you're right. He's not doing this out of the goodness of his heart. He's doing it because if the rogue faction wins, he's as good as dead." "Sounds like a charming guy," Ethan muttered. Alina ignored the sarcasm and opened a secure communication channel. "Kryn, this is Alina Vashtar. I need your help." For a moment, there was nothing but static. Then the screen flickered, and Kryn's face appeared. His silver eyes narrowed as he took in the scene. "Vashtar," he said, his voice a mix of disdain and curiosity. "I thought you were dead." "Not yet," Alina replied coolly. "But that could change if you don't help us." Kryn tilted his head, his expression unreadable. "Help you? Last time I checked, you weren't exactly a fan of my methods." "This isn't about me," Alina said. "It's about the rogue faction. They found a way to use quantum energy as a weapon. If we don't stop them, Earth will fall. And it won't stop there." Kryn's eyes flicked to Ethan. "And who's the human?" "The one who made the breakthrough thereafter," Alina said. "He's the key to stopping them." Kryn let out a low whistle. "You've dragged a scientist into this mess. Bold move." Ethan stepped forward, glaring at the screen. "Look, I don't care what history you two have. If you can help us stop them, great. If not, get out of the way." Kryn chuckled, a sound that sent a chill down Ethan's spine. "Feisty. I like him." He leaned closer to the camera. "All right, Alina, I'll help you. But I want something in return." "Name it," Alina said, her voice steady. "When this is over, I want full access to the technology," Kryn said. "The rogue faction isn't the only threat out there. With what Carter's created, we could change the balance of power across galaxies." Ethan bristled. "Not a chance." "Then good luck fighting them without me," Kryn said, leaning back with a smirk. Alina placed a hand on Ethan's arm, stopping him from arguing further. "We'll discuss it when this is over," she said. "Right now, we need your help to infiltrate their systems and disable their fleet." Kryn's smirk faded, replaced by a calculating expression. "Fine. I'll send you the coordinates to an abandoned facility. It has the equipment you'll need to amplify your signal and disrupt their network. But be warned, it's in their territory. If they catch you, you're dead." "Understood," Alina said. "Send the coordinates." The transmission ended, and the map updated with a new location marked in green. It was deep within enemy-controlled territory, surrounded by clusters of red dots. "This is suicide," Ethan said, staring at the map. "Even if we make it there, how do we get inside without being noticed?" Alina walked over to a shelf and pulled out a small, cube-shaped device. "With this," she said, "it's a cloaking field generator. It'll mask our presence for a limited time, but once we activate it, we'll be on a countdown." "How long?" Ethan asked. 30 minutes, Alina said. "After that, they'll detect us." Ethan took a deep breath, his mind racing. "All right, let's do this. But if your friend double-crosses us—" "He won't," Alina said, though her tone suggested she wasn't entirely convinced. "Kryn values his life too much to betray us." With the plan set, they gathered their equipment and prepared to leave. As they stepped into the tunnel once more, Ethan couldn't shake the feeling that Kryn's help might come with a cost they weren't prepared to pay. The final stand. The abandoned facility loomed in the distance, shrouded in mist and surrounded by jagged rocks. Its metallic structure jutted out of the ground like a forgotten relic, its walls scarred and rusted from years of neglect. Ethan adjusted the strap of the cloaking field generator on his shoulder, glancing nervously at Alina as they crept closer. "This place gives me the creeps," Ethan muttered under his breath. "It should," Alina replied, her voice low. "It used to be a research outpost for the rogue faction before they abandoned it. If they catch us here, they'll assume we're spies, and they won't ask questions before shooting." "Comforting," Ethan said dryly. The two reached the facility's perimeter, crouching behind a pile of rubble. Alina activated the cloaking device, and a faint shimmer enveloped them. The air around them seemed to ripple, bending light in a way that made them almost invisible. "Remember," Alina said, her voice barely above a whisper, "we only have 30 minutes before the cloaking fails. Once we're inside, you'll need to connect your device to their mainframe and upload the disruption code." "Got it," Ethan said, clutching the modified quantum amplifier tightly. He tried to steady his breathing, but the weight of their mission pressed heavily on his chest. They'd slipped through the facility's perimeter undetected, the cloaking field masking their movements. Inside, the air was stale, filled with the faint hum of dormant machinery. Dim, flickering lights cast eerie shadows along the corridors, making every step feel like a gamble. "Mainframes this way," Alina whispered, leading Ethan down a narrow hallway. They turned a corner and froze. Ahead, two rogue faction soldiers stood guard, their weapons glowing faintly in the dim light. Their sharp, angular helmets obscured their faces, but their posture radiated alertness. Alina motioned for Ethan to stay back. She drew a small handheld device from her belt and aimed it at the soldiers. A faint pulse of light shot out, and the soldiers stiffened, their bodies locking in place. "Neural disruptor," she explained as she waved Ethan forward. "They'll be out for a few minutes, but we need to hurry." They reached the mainframe room, a cavernous space filled with towering server racks that hummed softly. In the center of the room stood a massive cylindrical core, its surface pulsating with an ominous red glow. Ethan's breath caught. "This is it." Alina nodded. "That's their central control core. Plug your device into the terminal there." She pointed to a console near the base of the core. Ethan approached the console, his hands trembling as he connected the device. The screen lit up, displaying lines of alien code that made no sense to him. "Now what?" he asked. Alina stepped beside him, typing rapidly on the console. "I'll translate the code. You focus on monitoring the energy levels. If they spike, it means the core is trying to override the disruption." "Override it? How do I stop that?" "You don't," Alina said grimly. "If that happens, we run." Ethan swallowed hard, nodding as he watched the screen. The numbers and symbols flickered, indicating the upload was in progress. A sudden, loud alarm blared, and the red glow of the core intensified, bathing the room in an ominous light. "They've detected us," Alina said, her voice tense. "Keep the upload going. I'll handle the rest." She moved to the doorway, drawing a sleek alien weapon from her belt. Moments later, soldiers stormed into the room, their weapons aimed and ready. Alina didn't hesitate. She fired a series of precise shots, each one disabling a soldier before they could react. Ethan tried to focus on the upload, but the chaos around him made it nearly impossible. "Ethan," Alina shouted, her voice cutting through the noise. "How much longer?" 5% to go." He yelled back, his fingers flying over the console as he tried to stabilize the connection. The room shook violently as an explosion rocked the facility. Dust and debris rained down from the ceiling, and Ethan glanced up in alarm. "What was that?" "Backup's here," Alina said, her tone grim. "They're trying to take us out before the upload finishes. Hold on." The screen blinked, showing 99% completion. Just as the upload hit 100%, a massive figure stepped into the room. A rogue faction leader, clad in dark, spiked armor that seemed to absorb the light around him. "Vashtar," The leader growled, his voice echoing through the chamber. "You should have stayed in the shadows where you belong." Ethan froze, his heart pounding as the leader's gaze shifted to him. "And this must be your little human pet. How quaint." "Leave him out of this," Alina said, stepping between Ethan and the leader. "This is between us." The leader smirked. "You think you've won. The disruption won't stop us. It's only delayed the inevitable." Alina raised her weapon, her hand steady. "We'll see about that." Before the leader could react, she fired a shot directly at the core. The room erupted in a blinding flash of light as the core overloaded, sending shockwaves through the facility. Ethan shielded his eyes, his ears ringing from the explosion. When the light faded, the leader was gone, and the core was a smoking ruin. "Is it over?" Ethan asked, his voice trembling. "For now," Alina said, helping him to his feet. "But this is just the beginning." As they fled the collapsing facility, Ethan couldn't shake the feeling that their victory had come at a cost. The rogue faction would regroup, and the fight was far from over. But for the first time, he felt a spark of hope. Humanity's triumph. The air was thick with dust and the distant rumble of explosions. Ethan and Alina emerged from the smoking remains of the facility, both covered in grime and bruises, their clothes torn but their spirits unbroken. The mission had succeeded, just barely, but the weight of their survival was still settling in. Ethan looked over at Alina, her face set in determination. "We did it. The rogue faction's command center is offline. The disruption worked." Alina nodded, though her expression was clouded with concern. "For now. But the leaders of that faction won't take this lying down. They'll regroup, and they'll be back. We've bought Earth some time, but time is all we have." Ethan felt the gravity of her words sink in. Despite their success, the battle was far from over. Their enemies had been dealt a blow, but not defeated. The war wasn't over, it had only just begun. Suddenly, a low, rumbling sound cut through the air, growing louder by the second. Ethan turned toward the horizon and saw the shape of a massive ship descending from the sky. An enormous vessel, larger than anything he had ever seen, its sleek, dark frame cutting through the clouds like a shadow. "It's them," Alina said, her voice quiet but filled with resolve. "The rogue faction's final weapon. They're not going to retreat. They're coming to finish this." Ethan felt a cold rush of fear, but he pushed it aside. He wasn't the same person who had walked into this fight days ago. He had seen what humanity was capable of, what it meant to fight, not just for survival, but for the future. "They think they've won," Ethan said, his voice firm. "But they're wrong. We're not giving up this planet. We've just shown them what humans are made of. They'll understand soon enough that Earth isn't a world they can conquer so easily." Alina looked at him, her silver eyes glowing faintly in the low light. "You've come a long way in a short time, Ethan Carter. I didn't expect you to become this determined. You truly believe we can win, don't you?" "I do," Ethan said, the words sounding more sure than he had ever felt before. "They might have the technology, but we have something they don't. The will to fight." Alina raised an eyebrow, but a small smile tugged at the corner of her lips. "That's what I've been telling you all along. Humans have something that even the most advanced species in the universe can't replicate. Heart. And heart is what wins battles like these." The massive ship loomed closer, its engines roaring as it descended toward the ground. But this time, Ethan didn't feel the overwhelming fear he had when it first appeared. The battle they had fought, the challenges they had faced, had forged something in him. A sense of unity, a belief that they weren't alone in this fight. The strength of humanity wasn't in its technology or its weapons, but in the unyielding spirit that lived in each person willing to stand up and fight. As the ship touched down, a booming voice echoed from the speakers above, reverberating through the air. "This is your last chance. Surrender. You cannot win." Alina turned to Ethan, her face resolute. "Let's show them why they're wrong." Without hesitation, she activated a hidden comm device, and a holographic map flickered to life in front of them. The rogue faction's fleet was already mobilizing, but they hadn't accounted for the response of the humans who had been silently preparing. The planet's defenses, once obsolete, were now powered by the same quantum energy technology that had almost destroyed them. Ethan and Alina exchanged a knowing glance. The real battle had only just begun. "We're not alone," Ethan said softly, feeling a wave of confidence sweep through him. "There are others who'll fight with us." Alina's eyes softened. "I told you. Humanity always finds a way." Together, they walked toward the center of the battlefield, where a team of human soldiers was already preparing to launch their counteroffensive. The rogue faction might have thought they were prepared for everything, but they had underestimated the human resolve, the ability to rise, even in the face of impossible odds. As the first volley of energy blasts erupted in the sky, Ethan knew this wasn't just a fight for Earth. It was a fight for the future of all the worlds that would come after it. They would never surrender. Not to the aliens, not to anyone. Humanity would stand, unyielding, because that was who they were. And with every heartbeat, they would fight back.